All right, it is that time of year. Spring is here, and I don't know about you, but for me, this is the time of year I am done with the curriculum I picked last year, and I'm so excited about what I'm going to plan for next year. So I thought some of you might be feeling the same way, and we've used Peaceful Press's Playful Pioneers for this last year. And I've got several messages from people saying they've been looking at it, and I thought my experience with Playful Pioneers might be helpful for you. My husband and I are both second-generation homeschoolers, and we weren't sure at first we were going to homeschool our kids, but my now 9-year-old was 5, and he was still taking naps when he was supposed to be starting school. And so we're like, well, this isn't going to work because kindergarten does not offer naps. And so we decided we'd try just 1 year as the homeschool parents, see how it goes, and figure out what to do from there. So 2 weeks after we started homeschooling, a 60-year-old oak tree decided to come visit our living room and fell through the roof during a huge Oklahoma storm. And it displaced us to a different neighborhood, and we were so glad that we picked homeschooling. And 7 months later, as we were moving back into our house, newly repaired house, COVID hit, and we realized like homeschool was probably going to be the best bet for us for a while. And in that process, we fell in love with being the homeschool parents, and here we are at this point now, almost 4 years later. So the first year, we kept it super simple. I taught our oldest how to read, and we did math, and that's about the extent of what we did. And the second year, we started building on that, but with as many friends of ours who homeschooled, and being homeschooled, we realized a lot of parents were super ambitious in what they tried to do, and then burnout happened a lot sooner after. So we decided to start really basic and then build on that as we grew more confident. So the second year, we had my third son while trying to get into first grade. And so the curriculum that I chose for that year was a lot of things that I could do from the couch. So there were a lot of read alouds, and we did first language lessons by Susan Wise Bauer because I could just read the script and we could do call and response. And he was really struggling with writing, and so we put that off for another year to like really focus on it. He did some stuff, but like really getting that hand strength up to speed was what was most important to us. So we did a lot of paint by sticker to help with like pinching grip, and a lot of rubber bands on pegs. And that year I really focused on doing things that would strengthen the muscle without actually holding a pencil. Last year, mid-year, we realized we needed a co-op to join us. So we hadn't done a co-op in the previous years. I had a bunch of little kids. It was too overwhelming to think about getting out the door and skipping naps and all the things. And so it was just not something that we added to our life. So we toured a few co-ops. They were all amazing. However, they required me to stay and participate, and I was already so tired with a newborn and little kids that I really wanted something that I could just drop him off for a few hours, and it would be teachers and parents that I trusted, but I could have an ally in our education of our children. So we ended up finding this blended model co-op school that was 2 days a week, half days. So it goes from 10 in the morning to 3:30, and it's Charlotte Mason and nature-based. And so they're outside a lot, and they have peers. It gives them a very wide perspective on education because they can see the things their classmates are falling in love with, and they can enjoy those things too. And through it, my oldest started enjoying writing and has been writing out some of his own poetry. So we knew this year we were going to pick that again. And so as I was looking for a curriculum, I was looking for something that would go alongside that really well. And so the 4-day lessons of Playful Pioneers and Peaceful Press worked really good for us because they were already doing something 2 days a week, and then I could just like skip and piece together, so we had an additional 3-day week. So I feel like for another family that also does co-op 1 day a week and you don't want to do a full day of school on the day that there's co-op, this would be a good fit for you. So some things that we have used alongside the curriculum that may not have been listed. I do this American language series to teach my youngest son how to read. And you know what, I'm actually not gonna get really into what we've used as the supplemental things. What I want to do now is just show you the context and how we've used Playful Pioneers from Peaceful Press. These are the pieces that are included in Playful Pioneers. You have a parent guide, then you have the pack of art prints that I chose to print on cardstock. You have a different piece of art for every week to study. And then you have this thicker book is the elementary students sheet. And then I also printed the students sheet, and I think if I remember correctly, they also have elementary that is in cursive if that's what you want to choose. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I am going to walk you through the parent guide. So the parent guide is set up, and if I had to print it again, I probably would print it double-sided instead of just doing single-sided. So you have your table of contents. It walks you through what your months are going to be. Then you have your welcome. And I am just going to take us straight to the layout and explain to you how it goes. Oh, I marked mine with tabs for each month. So as we were working through, it would be easier to find. So here's month 1. You have the choice in Playful Pioneers to do Little House on the Prairie or Little Britches, which I'm trying to remember what the actual name of that series is. So what she does is she lays out the books that you're going to read for that month, and then the free reading suggestions, the things that you will need in your schoolroom, and then what you would need to do the crafts. And then if you choose, there's also a recipe book. If you choose to make the recipes, these are the ingredients that you'll need to make your recipes for that month. Every month has its own assigned hymn to go with it, so you're learning hymns as you go. And then she has a selection of readings for every month that is poetry. And then toward the end of like part of the way through the book, I started realizing like we weren't doing any poetry memorization. So we ended up memorizing some of the poems that she has listed here at the beginning too. So every week has its own layout. What you're going to do for Bible time, she recommends at the beginning going through theology. This is like the basics of theology, but written for children. So you have, let's see, there should be at the beginning here. So it has theology of God, of people, of sin, promised land, and these are super short lessons. And so it makes it really easy to just start your day off with a little bit of Bible. Half the way through, she does Jesus Storybook Bible, but we've been through Jesus Storybook Bible so many times, I decided to use our 24 family ways. And so this has a different question for the conversation starter, then a verse, things to talk about, and then things to pray about. And I just found this one on Amazon. It should be all in my shop front if you want to be able to find it really easily. But these are the things that it covers. Jesus Storybook Bible looks like this. I feel like it depends on what age of kid you have, whether or not you're going to want to do this one following up with theology. I feel like theology was really appropriate for like 8 to 12-year-olds. I feel like my 5-year-old struggled to like follow along. It didn't hurt him to hear everything, but I don't know how much he got it. So if you have the younger elementary side for kids, this is probably going to be better. If not, I found our 24 Family Ways has worked really well for us since since we'd already done Jesus Storybook Bible. So the next thing you do is you do one. Sometimes if the chapter's super short, and I mean super short, she'll have you do 2 chapters of your Little House on the Prairie series. I would say before you decide that you want to do Little House on the Prairie over Little Britches, to just like go back and refresh. I don't know what the values are for your family, but go back and read Little House on the Prairie and see if that's something. I was super surprised. There was a lot of content, adult content, and some rumblings of genocide that I had forgotten when I read it as a kid. So just kind of have a plan in place for how you're going to have those discussions with your kid if you do choose the Little House on the Prairie series. Then we worked really hard on doing good narrations after we would read the chapter, they would narrate it back to me. Some questions that I asked to try to help prompt, and now they're narrating really well, is what happened at the beginning, then what happened next, and how did it finish? And by prompting with those 4 questions, it started to help them think in story format, and so narrating is getting significantly easier for them. In history, there was usually a lesson, either a picture book that the kids could read. Some of these were really hard to find at our library, and I ended up looking them up on YouTube and having somebody on YouTube read them to the kids rather than like digging and trying to find them for myself. And then one of the things that, oh no, that's in art, sorry. We would do a lot of Kids Art Hub for some of these science art projects, and yeah, it was a lot of fun. So with practical art skills, we also did Kids Art Hub a lot. We would either do Kids Art Hub, so during the week we would do at least one Kids Art Hub in the week, and then I would have them take whatever the piece of art was. We would discuss the colors, we would discuss like the elements of the painting that we saw one of the days, and then the third day I would give them watercolors and pencils, and we would try to copy the painting to the best of our ability. So it was just a fun way to like practice, do some things like they had never done stuff like that before, and so it was a fun introduction to art this year. So this is the way that every lesson is set up. So you've got Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and she gives you step-by-step directions to go through your day. The only thing that isn't provided is the math and language arts, but language arts we were doing narration, and then for spelling I did some dictation for him with the copy work that was provided in the book, and so that didn't end up being too difficult. So for my youngest son, we're teaching him how to read. I was using this American language series as that piece for the lesson. And so that just continues on through. You've got your layout for every week, and then your lesson for every day. And then you get to month 2, and she has all of the same things laid out. The new hymn picked, the new poetry, some readings, and it tells you exactly when in the lesson plans to like come back to these and read them. So then what I'm going to do to show you the kids books is just kind of, we'll walk through week 1 and how that works, and it will give you a good idea of what our week looked like. So we have Monday for that's week 5. So we'll go to week 5. And we were talking about making hay in week 5. And so we, instead of just drawing them, we did little cutouts of balers, because they could pick whichever kind of baler that they wanted to use. And so they picked this particular kind. And so that was in Keaton's, and I'll show you, here's Cedric's. The kindergarten book didn't have as many lessons in it, and so we did a little bit of, went off on our own a little bit too. All right, so so there would have been copy work for elementary. I was doing something a little simpler for him. He wasn't ready to write on lines that way. Now that were toward the end of the book, he is copying them in himself. So we had week 5, and let's get the company. Okay. All right, so with week 5, you would do your Bible lesson, you would read the chapter, you would do your copy work, or you would do the oral copy work, which this is the copy work that they could do if they wanted to do a picture as copy work, because it goes along with the story. And then we would read the portion of the Declaration of Independence, which was in the front of the teacher's guide. And then they looked at the painting that was the Declaration of Independence. So here, and that was Monday's lesson. So then for Tuesday, you have copy the portion, and he did it in his copybook that had lines like this, so it was easier for him. Copied his portion of the preamble to the Declaration of Independence in the copybook, and then we had the reading about harvesting, which is where the baler came in, and then Cedric wanted to do it too, so he did his baler. And then we talked about how you can grow wheat. And so we have wheat that I grind in our wheat mill, and we looked at that and saw that. So then for day 2, we did our readings. Then we read, excuse me, Happy Thoughts, which was in the beginning. And I had some root vegetables in our pantry, and so we went and looked at those and talked about root vegetables. And then let's see, so then for Thursday we read Happy Thoughts again, and we had the book Finding Providence that we looked up on YouTube to read, and we roasted some of the vegetables. So you can see here I wrote that we blended it with Wednesday because we have 3-day-a-weeks instead of 1-day-a-weeks. So every week has a Bible verse copy work, a visual narration. Then we used this page slightly different as we went through the year. We used it to do, let's see. We used it to do, where are they? The Kids Art Hub things, and then we would write a short narration underneath it for a written narration. When we talked about the railroad, we copied in the maps. And so I started to figure out my stride even more as we came through. So then let's see, this was the March to Valley Forge on week 6. And so the way we used it this time was to actually paint in their own renditions of what they were seeing. And then there's the portion of poetry for week 6. So this is all the same. Then your portion of Paul Revere's Ride, and then you're on to week 7. So every day in the elementary book has a corresponding thing to do in your workbook. So you have a full picture of what your year looks like in this book when you're done. So for the kindergarten book, there's only 2 pages a week. And so you have your page where they can color the drawn narration and then trace some words. Cedric loves writing, and so he wanted to write extra ones. And then we would write in something for him to do on the second one. Usually that was he would narrate to me and I would pick a sentence from it and he would copy it. So for him, we did end up using fronts and backs of everything because he wanted to do everything Keaton was doing, but there were only 2 pages provided for him and there were 4 pages provided for Keaton. So I hope that as an overview helps. Go ahead and click subscribe because I'm going to talk about some of the other things we did during read alouds to help them keep their hands busy, and it's not included in the Playful Pioneers with Peaceful Press curriculum actually, so I'm going to make those into a separate video, but it really helped, I feel round out what we were doing as a family along with our blended model co-op. So let me know if this helps. If you have any other questions before choosing to order, I'm happy to help, and I will try to monitor those carefully.